It's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. Ever since his first appearance in Action Comics, Superman's become one of the most iconic and recognizable fictional characters of all time. Creators Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster were influenced from fictional characters, ranging from Hercules to John Carter. After 40 years of comic book life, it was time for the Man of Steel to get his own movie and later film series. This 3-part review is going to cover all live-action Superman movies, from Superman to Man of Steel. I'm not going to talk about Supergirl or any of the other animated ones, but maybe in the future. So without further delay, let's start Superman-athon. In 1978, the first Superman movie, just titled Superman, was released. It's about when Jor-El, played by Marlon Brando, sends his only son to Earth just before the planet is destroyed. Once Kal-El lands on Earth, he is raised by the Kents. Was it necessary to show him naked? He grows up and figures out where he comes from. He becomes Superman and moves Metropolis under the secret identity of Clark Kent. Superman is actually a pretty good movie for its time and still holds up today. Christopher Reeve was great as Superman, and so was his on-screen chemistry with Lois Lane, played by Margaret Kidder. Now let's talk about the main villain, Lex Luthor, played by Gene Hackman. His plan is to launch 2 nuclear missiles going opposite directions. One heads to the San Andreas Fault so California would drift away from America. Once that happens, the new Arizona coastline becomes the next big real estate cash-in. One thing I don't get is that how come Superman has a hard time catching 2 nuclear missiles and then later he flies around the Earth dozens of hundreds of times in seconds? Another moment that physicists debunk is that when Superman catches Lois Lane when she's falling. In real life, her neck would have snapped due to the sudden halt of a fall. But out of all those, how come no one mentions this scene?
Mommy, Rescue is stuck in the tree. And look, that guy gave us. Haven't I told you not to fly?
She hit her and Superman doesn't do a thing about it. Even with his faults, Superman is easily the best in the film series. It sort of stands the test of time, but what really helps is that amazing score by John Williams. The score is swift, bold, inspiring, and iconic at the same time. Richard Donner did a great job with the directing and convinced the audience that Superman was actually flying. Richard Donner would later go on to direct The Goonies and Lethal Weapon movies. I give Superman from 1978 3 stars out of 4. Following up Superman was Superman 2. Richard Donner was pushed out of the movie during production because the studio wanted to make the film series more family-friendly and lighthearted. Richard Lester became the director, who would also went on to direct Superman 3. Superman 2 is about when Superman saves Paris from terrorists by throwing a nuclear bomb into space. When the bomb goes off, it frees General Zod and his cronies from the Phantom Zone. As they find out they also have Superman's powers, they start their quest for world domination. But Superman doesn't do a thing about it because he'd rather be with Lois Lane, and by doing so, sacrifices his superpowers. After the terror of Zod becomes too much to be ignored, Superman gets back his powers and fights them off. What doesn't make sense is that how did he get his powers back when the hologram said that giving up his powers was irreversible? What was the point of Superman throwing that S at one of General Zod's cronies and then it evaporates?
What was that? Yeah, take that, you jerk. That was a minor inconvenience. Yeah, well, that's the idea. Slowed you down, I'll say. Ow. Didn't see that coming, did you? No. Yeah, well, take that.
Last time I checked, Superman didn't have the power to erase people's memory. The John Williams score is there, but it's obviously conducted by someone else. Superman 2 is a step down from the first one, but still watchable nonetheless. I give Superman 2 2.5 stars out of 4. So stay tuned for part 2 where I'll talk about Superman 3 and Superman 4, The Quest for Peace.